It's waning crescent. We have moved out of new moon and we are now in waning crescent. And so that's where my thoughts are today. So if you are new to me, my name is Gail. I am the energy-led woman and this is my diary. This is my video diary where I talk about what's maybe on my mind, what's going on, what I'm doing, how I'm using that, how I'm leading my energetically led life. And maybe you can take some inspiration from that. Maybe you can just listen in and just find it interesting. Whatever. It's here predominantly for me. I am a human design self-projected projector. If you haven't looked into your human design chart, I would highly recommend you do so. That means that my superpower is in my voice. My authority, my decision-making process comes through my voice. So if I'm not talking, then I'm not making good decisions in my life. So talking is really key, and I've always had a way of doing that, and this place is my current way of doing that. So I chat while I am putting on my makeup, because this is when I am focused on my day ahead. I'm thinking about what's going on. I'm thinking about, what's already kind of moved through me energetically. And I'm kind of putting that into life, really, I suppose. This is not wanting to come out. Anyway, so waning crescent. So you might have caught a couple of my recent videos. My one recent video about new moon energy and about how it comes naturally and how I used to do rituals. I used to do all the things. I used to sit with my notebook and I used to create intentions and I used to do all of that kind of stuff with the new moon, until I realised that it was feeling horrible. It was feeling sticky. It wasn't feeling good at all to do that. And I realised that a lot of the time when you sit yourself in that position, or I realised that maybe I wasn't connecting up right, or maybe, my higher self wasn't with me in that moment, but a lot of my goals were coming from my head. Things I thought I should do, I should want, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't really my true goals or my true intentions. And when I started to realise this, I started to notice how they came through naturally. So as we move into, and this is the whole thing about energy. Anyway, as we moved into new moon phase, my energy would automatically, my higher self, my soul, would automatically start showing me what the intentions were. So it might come through as in something happened that I really didn't like, and I was like, I never want this to happen to me again. Therefore, I've got an intention, because the contrast points us in the right direction, or points us away from the direction that we're going in. And so it'd come through like that, or it'd just come through as in, I really want to do this, I really want to do that. And when I started to actually trust that, rather than actually having a ritual, everything started to feel easier, happier, more flowful, all that kind of jazz. So I don't have rituals for my new moons, or I don't have rituals for moon phases. What I do have is a noticing, a witnessing, and an awareness, and a trust in what comes through. So we're in waning crescent, which means for the last few days, those pieces of information have been coming through to me. What I want to do, what I, who I want to be, whatever. The intentions for new moon have been coming through. Now we're in waning crescent, and now it's kind of the time where, all of these things, we put them all out there. I've been putting stuff out there over the last 2 to 3 days in new moon energy. I want this, I don't want this. This is what I want to do. This is what I don't want to do. It's been coming through. So I've been putting it out there anyway, just by thinking it, just by being conscious of it, just by kind of noticing it expands. So now is the time when I kind of lean back into those thoughts, if you like, or I allow those thoughts to come back up, to surface again. And it's now kind of like a bit of discernment, really, a bit of filtering. Which ones of these am I prepared to nourish? Which ones of these am I prepared to put energy and focus into and, make come to life? And this is kind of, it just allows us to just make sure that what we've kind of put out there in the new moon, It's doable, and we can actually kind of bring it on board. And I dare say, you know, if there's something that I can't take forward this time, it'll probably come up next month or in another couple of months or whatever, because everything that I desire, everything that you desire, is coded within you already. And I know that makes us feel like, oh, we don't have free choice, or it's destiny, and so therefore we can't change anything. And to a certain extent, that is true, but you are in charge of your experience here, and you can potentially make that experience as hard as you want or as easy as you want, But ultimately, you are here for a reason. Your human design helps you to kind of understand that and grasp that a little bit more. But your desires and what makes you feel good helps you to understand that even more. And, coming from a place of love, coming from a place of flow, trust, love, surrender, as far as energy is emotion. In case you're kind of like, well, what's the energy? What's my energy? Emotions are kind of energy. They're generated. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation, isn't it? Coming from a place of love, trust, surrender, peace, calm, all happiness, all that kind of stuff, is what will make the world go round, and it's what will make the world a better place. A lot of people in the world right now are coming from a place of fear, coming from a place of, if you're different to me, I must fear you. If you've got something that I have not, I must take that from you because I can't have that as well as you. Well, you can, because there's infinite abundance around us. But anyway, we are living in a certain society at the moment, and we're here to do our part with that. And, for me, randomly, I think doing these diaries, which is something that is driven by my selfish need to do them, but by doing these diaries, I am playing my part. All my human design is all about being a storyteller. It's all about talking about my experiences and, should we say, creating an influence. Not as in an influencer, but creating an influence through them. So, as I'm talking, and I always say this with my videos, I am not here to tell you a right or a wrong way to be, but what I am here to do is to tell you what I do and what I find, feels good, makes life better, so that you can kind of feel into that yourself. Now, you will, when I'm talking, you will get kind of like one of two emotions or reactions, maybe three. One will be, oh my God, yes, I need to know more about that. Great. We're on the same wavelength, all that kind of jazz. You might just be listening, doesn't really activate any energy within you, doesn't kind of create any emotion within you. Great, it's fine. And the final one is the trigger. And we're scared of triggers. Humans are scared of triggers, but ultimately, if I trigger you, I'm using that phrase because it's a very human phrase, but if I activate an energy in you that kind of goes, no, absolutely goddamn not, that is not right, that is not the way it should be, blah, 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 then what I've triggered in you is an inner knowing. So I've triggered an inner knowing. I've triggered a response that now tells you who you are and what you believe about what I've just said. And you can either take that as something to look into and analyze and learn about, or you can just, let it happen, whatever. So anyway, I am rambling a lot this morning. I must have quite a lot of different things going on in my head, which I know I have. Anyway, so waning crescent, the time to refine and decide what's worth your energy, I guess. I learned from the last video. I've kept all my cosmetics on here so that they don't make a horrible noise when I am messing about in my drawer trying to find them. Anyway, so I've lost my track of thought again. So waning crescent. So what we're talking about is what were the things that, because there will have been a lot of things that will have come up potentially over the last couple of days that you want to change about your life, and some of them will feel like they are big, some of them will feel huge, and some of them will feel small and tiny and easily and doable. And this is your opportunity right now in the next coming days, while we're in this waning Waxing. Well, have I said waning all the way through this goddamn video? I have, haven't I? It's waxing. I'm sure it's waxing. Anyway, the phase right now. Clearly I need coffee this morning. I can't get my head into which one it is. Is it waxing or waning? It's waning, isn't it? No, waning is when we're waning. It's waxing. Oh, God, I don't know. Anyway, if you know, you know. If you don't know, go research it like I'm going to do. Go check it like I'm going to do after this video. Anyway, we're in the moon phase for refinement and for deciding what's important and deciding what we want to do about it. Whether it's called waxing, waning, whatever, crescent, gibbous, full, quarter, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, so for me, there is a lot of health coming up at the moment, a lot of health stuff coming up at the moment. And I'm looking to move that forwards this time. Now, I am a specific manifester by human design. So what that tells me is I have to get deep down into the specifics of what I want to do. And when I am flirty and I'm just like, oh, I want to be healthy, it doesn't actually work. Now, the interesting thing for me as a projector is that outcomes are none of my business. Literally. Focusing on an outcome will get me nowhere. It will get me into sticky territory. It'll get me into heavy territory. It will get me into hustle territory, focusing on an outcome. So I cannot focus on an outcome. So my specifics have to be about something slightly different. So over the next coming days, I will be thinking about my health and I will be coming up with my specifics. I might drop them into the shorts or into the community when I do them. Probably shorts, because speaking, as we have determined at the start of this video, is a superpower for me. So I need to speak things into being as well. So health, I've got health stuff going on. Now, health for me is all led energetically. I don't necessarily vibe, align, trust, surrender to our medical authorities anymore. So I have to do, when I'm talking about health, it is all energy led. It is all driven by my inner knowings, my emotions, the data that my body is giving me. I talk to my body a lot. And this has been something that has been brewing. We've been talking about this a lot together, me and my body. And yeah, so health is one of the big things that's coming through. Self-care, okay, and glamour magic. Glamour magic and self-care are coming through massively at the moment. And it's that I kind of can't wait to get started on that. So that's coming through quite a lot. Money, getting into the realms of, you know, really kind of, I want to say manifesting. I don't know if manifesting is the right word. No, it's not the right word. I knew as soon as I said it, it wasn't the right word. Money, it's about making sure that I am open to receiving money, making sure I'm on the frequency of the level of money that I desire. And for me, that level of money isn't riches beyond measure. The level of money for me is more than enough. That is it. More than enough. More than enough. Just more than enough to feel comfortable maintaining the lifestyle that I desire. That's basically my level of finance that I want. I don't need loads in the bank. I don't need a big, you know, lump sum for some point in the future, but I do need to trust that, you know, I will be able to live a lifestyle that I desire and feel comfortable doing so. So that is the level of money that I desire. What else has been coming through? Oh, daily routines, life routines, just the daily kind of get up and do stuff kind of thing, because my daily routine's been absolutely atrocious recently. And because it's atrocious, I'm not finding the time to do some of the work that I need to do. So there's two parts to this here. One, I need to get my daily routine in order. And two, I need to slow down time. So time seems to have been moving very, very quickly over the last kind of, I don't even know how long, to be fair, but time seems to be moving very, very quickly. and my days seem to be disappearing. And I wake up, I feel like I wake up, I get ready for work, I'm at work, I finish work, I make tea, I go to bed. That's literally, and it feels like that is all that there's space for. And I know that that isn't true. I know that that is the frequency that I'm living on right now. I'm not living in a frequency where I've got abundant time. So I'm going to be working on that. That's a real key piece for me, because if I lock that piece down, then everything else kind of fits in around it. You know, the getting healthy, more movement, eating better, cooking nicer food, doing all that kind of stuff, that all fits in when I've got more time. My self-care, taking time to, moisturize, do my evening skincare, fake tan. This is the big thing that's coming through for me at the moment, is the tan. And this is what's driving the self-care. So, and I always find that really interesting. It always happens to me. So I go on holiday, I get a tan, I feel really healthy. I don't need to be as dark as I am when I first come back from holiday, but just this kind of healthy kind of glow. And then it fades drastically. Everybody will feel the same. You know, it happens. We come back to our natural level of sunshine. I'm not as close to the equator. The UV levels aren't as high, and the tan isn't staying where I want it to stay. And of course that is the case. You know, we all know about the sun's rays, UVA, UVB, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So I really want to get into my routine of tanning again, and keeping up with this tan so that I feel good, because that's what life is about. Life is about feeling good. And if we're not romanticizing our life, then what are we actually doing? And you will find, as I keep logging these diaries and I talk a little bit more, I did a little short about it yesterday, but I have a whole process in the background about creating a life story, creating your masterpiece, your life story. And I read a lot of kind of the fantasy genre. I'm currently reading a lot of the romantic genre, so I've gone a bit down to that kind of level at the moment. Down to that level, so I'm kind of in that kind of world at the moment. So I'm on Akatar at the moment. I've done Quicksilver. I've done Throne of Glass. I've done the Empyrean series. So I'm kind of in that world at the moment, and I'm really enjoying that world. I think the young women in these books are really empowering. I would love to have a daughter right now to teach her kind of like this way of being, but I kind of wouldn't want a daughter either. But anyway, that's not for this diary right now. Anyway, I would love to be back in time where I'm 17 and reading these books, because I think they would have had such a different impact on my life. But it wasn't what I'm here for. It wasn't what I'm here for. So bring it back. So I read a lot of those kind of books, the fantasy, the sci-fi. I really like the kind of like sci-fi stuff now. We watched Oblivion at the weekend. I've never seen that before, with Tom Cruise. I kind of like was half dozing all the way through it, so I need to watch it when I'm focused, but that was really interesting. Anyway, the Dune prophecy, rambling. Right, stop it, Gail. So I like to sometimes kind of look into my life from that perspective, from that perspective of a fantasy novel. And I look out at our world, and is it a dystopian world? Are we in that kind of vibe, really? And what does that mean for me as the main character of my life story? And, like leaning into it from that perspective, and watching my life unfold, rather than sometimes, instead of being in my world, I kind of look down on my world and kind of like look into it and be like, okay, so what does it look like? What's got, I don't know if this makes any sense, but I was thinking this morning as I was brushing my teeth that, in these books, the young girl often has powers. She often has powers that she doesn't know of, or she gains powers that she doesn't know what to do with, and things like that. But she has powers, right? So this young girl kind of like gains these powers, and then she has to go through trials and tribulations almost to bring them to life. And some of it doesn't feel like trial. It's not official. You will go through this trial. It's not that. It's just circumstance that she comes across that she has to like embody the power to overcome the situation, and sometimes she doesn't embody the power, and then it ends up like not in a very good result, shall we say. And I really feel like this is why so many women talk about this and write about this in these books, is because to a certain element it's true. As women, we do have powers. We do have powers, and we have powers that we have suppressed and have been suppressed, and nobody teaches us about them. Nobody tells us about them. Nobody tells us how to use them, unless you're very, very lucky. And, you know, somewhere along your ancestral line, someone's held on to this and they haven't shown themselves to be this way. So they've been able to, or they've kept away from, I don't know, society in some way, shape or form to maybe hold on to this knowledge. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. I saw something the other day about a hereditary witch. Someone kind of saying, you know, I'm a hereditary witch. I didn't just suddenly become a witch at, you know, at 30 years old or something. It's in my bloodline. It's been in my ancestors. It's, you know, mum, grandma, all that kind of stuff. I've got odd eyebrows today. I'm gonna have to keep lifting that one up. Anyway, so lost my train of thought now. Anyway, hereditary witch, looking into your life, getting powers, Yeah. So in these books, you know, these heroines, these main characters often face a trial, and when they faced a trial, you know, sometimes they slip into this zone and they're like, oh, and everything went dark, and then I was able to suddenly do this, or you know, this writing appeared on my hand and it was glowing and it was telling me something, you know, and it's like, you know, they suddenly in the midst of a trial, they uncover a power that they never knew they had, and they embody it. And I think that's kind of a bit like life, you know? You come across challenges, and particularly for women, we come across challenges, and instead of stepping into our power and becoming the biggest expansive version of ourselves, we hit a challenge and we shrink ourselves. We suppress our voice. We suppress our feelings. We push it all down. We hold on to it and we push it down. And in effect, in doing that, we're not embodying the power that's meant to be ours. We're suppressing it down. And so I believe that somewhere along the line, something comes to us in some way, shape or form. Maybe it's this video, maybe it's this wording that this story that I'm kind of telling, because I believe that something comes to us at some point and it wakes us up and it makes us realize that when we hit those challenges, we don't have to overcome them in the way our society tells us to. We can quietly go into a corner. We can quietly light some candles. We can quietly tune into our frequency. We can quietly deal with this energetically, not from a hustle perspective, and when I say hustle perspective, I think what I mean is, I go against using the word in kind of matrix and stuff like that, but we are energetic beings living in a human body. And so if I talk about being human, that is when we are just being what we've been taught to be, what we're conditioned to be. When I talk about being an energetically led person, an energy being, magical, that's when I bring in the superpowers. When I talk about you being a woman, that is the superpowers. So we don't have to deal with it in this human way that we've been taught. We can deal with it in an energy-led way, in a magical way. So, wow, I think that's it. The words just suddenly stopped. And this is what happens to me. So I, as a self-projected projector, I have a G center, which I call my soul. It's like your identity. It's all about who you are. My G center bubbles up and throws words up out of my throat because they're connected. As I speak my identity, I speak my beliefs, I speak my experience, and it just bubbles out. And then as I kind of get towards the end of what I need to share, the words just stop coming. And that's where I am right now. The words have stopped. And my makeup's done, apart from my lippy, which I can't do while I'm rabbiting on anyway. So I'm going to leave it there. If you've found anything intriguing, connected to anything in this little video, please let me know in the comments. It's always great to know how this ripples out, if that makes sense. How my videos ripple out to, you know, into the world. And when I do my little kind of like energy casting that I'm going to do for slowing down time, I will record it and it'll be in my shorts a little bit later. Have a great day. I will see you for my next diary entry.